As a first year coastal student, I think coming somewhere so far away from home and kind of learning how to do everything on my own is a huge adjustment. With that, I am constantly calling my parents and I'm constantly calling my sisters. I call my dad pretty much every time I leave class, and my sisters every night before bed we have a group FaceTime. You could also say I'm really into watching TV on my laptop every night before bed. I use my laptop for homework. I use my phone to scroll endlessly, mindlessly every single day. And I think that is very normal for anyone my age. But this class has kind of taught me how it shouldn't be normal. I think it's hard to sit in a class for an hour and 15 minutes and not get bored. But Dr. Reed does a good job asking us engaging questions that provoke class discussion. I think this semester we had a lot of good class discussions, and sometimes we might have talked in circles a little bit, but I think that was all of us just kind of bouncing off each other. And some of the questions he asked really did make us think. My favorite part about the class was probably the class discussion we would have every day in class when he would ask that one question that would get us all going. And then also my favorite assignment from the class was definitely the film analysis. I did not think I was going to like it. I don't mind writing papers and I do enjoy writing papers, and this was really the only paper we wrote besides the final. And I'm also not a big movie person. I'm into shows. And so when I sat down, I watched this movie over spring break. I'm a substitute teacher. I had it playing in my AirPod while I was watching a class. And I just watched it little by little throughout the day. And I really ended up enjoying the movie I chose, which was the one about... I'm blanking. The movie I chose was The Social Network, and I did really enjoy that movie, which I wasn't expecting, but I liked how it was not just really about it was obviously all about the come up of Facebook, but there was some plot to it, there was some drama to it, and I love that part of the movie, so that was useful in staying interested. So I would recommend that movie to anyone who has to pick. But also, I did enjoy writing the film analysis on it because it made you think about things that you wouldn't normally think about while watching a movie. When it comes to some of the other sources that we looked into over the course of the course, I picked 5, the 5 that I talked about in my essay, and they are... I have a little bit of a breakdown of how they all might appeal to a college student. So, how smartphones hijack our minds. That one talks more about how smartphones distract and manipulate our attention, and it's really relatable to students who rely heavily on their phones for school, social life, and entertainment, which I think that's a big thing with phones nowadays. I go to bed with it playing a show every day, so I'm I understand that. And then technological or media determinism. This one was more theoretical and academic. It talks about the abstract ideas and technology controlling society, but it might feel a little bit dry unless someone is into the media study and philosophy. Just my opinion on that one. The Marshall McLuhan, The Medium is the Message, was also pretty theoretical. McLuhan's ideas are famous, but can sound abstract, and they're not intensely gripping unless a student is super engaged or someone likes the communication theory. In The Internet of Us, that was the whole book is about how internet changes how we know things. It was interesting, but it's a little bit heavier and more on the academic side, so it's less quick and immediately engaging. And then The Smartphone Paradox, of course, focuses specifically on smartphones' double-edged effects, so the good and bads. It's super current, which is good. I like how up to date it is, and it's relatable for students who are kind of juggling that stress of like how much they should be using their phone, they're struggling with focus, things like that. I think that is good. That one is good for students going through that. But out of all of those, I think the most appealing one to someone my age would probably be How Smartphones Hijack Our Minds. It's direct and it's immediately like relevant to their daily experiences, which is why it's so relatable and more interesting to read. And I think when you're interested in reading, your response is automatically going to be better because you like understood and were more engaged about what you were writing. College students, we struggle with distraction, procrastination, and stress about like being productive. And I mean, I think it goes without saying because obviously there's so much going on in our day-to-day lives and it's hard to kind of stick to a schedule, especially when like we're used to, as a first year, when we're used to coming from like 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day, then I do this after school, then I do this when I get home. Like our whole day was planned out for us like all throughout our lives, and then we get here and like we do have these like spaces where there's nothing figured out, and it's kind of hard to like go do your homework and be productive in those times because no one's telling you have to. But Card taps right into those concerns. And it's written for a general audience and like less as like an academic source, so it's easier and quicker to read. So that is my take on some of the sources, assignments, and the course as a whole. I also wanted to touch on the read and responds. I think they get a little bit repetitive, if I'm being honest, and I really enjoy when we have a watch and respond or a listen and respond instead, because sometimes just like I feel like I'm rereading the same article over and over just because of how common the themes are in all of them, which is obvious because that's what the course is about. But sometimes it's hard to like stay engaged in all these different articles. But besides that, overall, I found this course really informative, really helpful for my mindset because it really did change it, and I definitely learned a lot about myself and my cell phone usage. I think the infographic we did also really helped with that, and it kind of helped me really break it down, which was it was good to see just all laid out for me. But